Hello everyone, I am back with Bella Elephant and I am reading to you today The Polar Express by Chris Van Allsburg. This is a cherished favorite in my own family and so many others. It's a favorite to gift to for our first Christmas present as well. I do it so often myself. Believe it or not, this is actually the copy that was given to me and my siblings when we were kids, and I treasure this copy so much. The reason why I chose Bella to be with me today is she is named after my friend's little girl, Isabella Rose, and the beautiful little Isabella Rose is celebrating her first Christmas this year, and I felt it only appropriate to have Bella Elephant with me. Isabella, if you're watching this, I'm sending you my love and more. Merry Christmas, sweetheart. Well, without further ado, I would like to read to you The Polar Express. Here we go. On Christmas Eve many years ago, I lay quietly in my bed. I did not rustle the sheets. I breathed slowly and silently. I was listening for a sound my friend told me I'd never hear, the ringing of Santa's sleigh. There is no Santa, my friend had insisted, but I knew he was wrong. Late that night, I did hear sounds, though not the ringing of bells. From outside came sounds of hissing steam and squeaking metal. I looked through my window and saw a train standing perfectly still in front of my house. It was wrapped in an apron of steam. Snowflakes fell lightly around it. A conductor stood at the open door of one of the cars. He took a large pocket watch from his vest. Then he looked up at my window. I put on my slippers and robe. I tiptoed downstairs and out the door. "All aboard!" the conductor cried out. I ran up to him. "Well," he said, "are you coming?" "Where?" I asked. "Why, to the North Pole, of course," was his answer. "This is the Polar Express." I took his outstretched hand and he pulled me aboard. The train was filled with other children in their pajamas and nightgowns. We sang Christmas carols and ate candies with nougat centers as white as snow. We drank hot chocolate as thick and rich as melted chocolate bars. Outside, lights of towns and villages flickered in the distance as the Polar Express raced northward. Soon there were no more lights to be seen. We traveled through cold, dark forests where lean wolves roamed and white-tailed rabbits hid from our train as it thundered through the quiet wilderness. We climbed mountains so high it seemed we would scrape the moon, but the Polar Express never slowed down. Faster and faster we ran along, rolling over peaks and through valleys like a car on a roller coaster. The mountains turned into hills, the hills to snow-covered plains as we crossed the barren desert of ice. The polar ice cap. Lights appeared in the distance. They looked like lights of a strange ocean liner sailing on a frozen sea. "There," the conductor said, "is the North Pole." The North Pole. It was a huge city standing alone at the top of the world, filled with factories where every Christmas toy was made. At first we saw no elves. "They are gathering at the center of the city," the conductor told us. "That is where Santa will give the first gift of Christmas." "Who receives the first gift?" we all asked. The conductor answered, "He will choose one of you." "Look!" shouted one of the children. "The elves!" Outside, we saw hundreds of elves. As our train grew closer to the North Pole, to the center of the North Pole, we slowed to a crawl. So crowded were the streets with Santa's helpers. When the Polar Express could go no farther, go no farther, we stopped and the conductor led us outside. We pressed through the crowd to the edge of a large open circle. In front of us stood Santa's sleigh. The reindeer were excited. They pranced and paced, ringing the silver sleigh bells that hung from their harnesses. It was a magical sound, like nothing I'd ever heard. Across the circle, the elves moved apart and Santa Claus appeared. The elves cheered wildly. He marched over to us and pointing to me, he said, "Let's have this fellow." He jumped into his sleigh. The conductor handed me up. I sat on Santa's knee and he asked, "Now, what would you like for Christmas?" Wow, pretty magical, right? I knew I could have any gift I could imagine, but the thing I wanted most for Christmas was not inside Santa's giant bag. What I wanted more than anything was one silver bell from Santa's sleigh. When I asked, Santa smiled. Then he gave me a hug and told an elf to cut a bell from the reindeer's harness. The elf tossed it up to Santa. He stood holding the bell high above him and called out, "The first gift of Christmas!" A clock struck midnight as the elves roared their approval. Santa handed me the bell. I put it in my bathrobe pocket. The conductor helped me down from the sleigh. Santa shouted out the reindeers' names and cracked his whip. His team charged forward and climbed into the air. Santa circled once above us, then disappeared in the cold, dark polar sky. As soon as we were back inside the Polar Express, the other children asked to see the bell. I reached into my pocket, but there was nothing, but the only thing I felt was a hole. I had lost the silver bell from Santa Claus's sleigh. "Let's hurry outside and look for it," one of the children said, but the train gave a sudden lurch and started moving. We were on our way home. It broke my heart to lose the bell. When the train reached my house, I sadly left the other children. I stood at my doorway and waved goodbye. The conductor said something from the moving train, but I couldn't hear him. "What?" I yelled out. He cupped his hands around his mouth. "Merry Christmas!" he shouted. The Polar Express let out a loud blast from its whistle and sped away. Trying to turn the page here. Okay. On Christmas morning, my little sister Sarah and I opened our presents. When it looked as if everything had been unwrapped, Sarah found one last small box behind the tree. It had my name on it. Inside was the silver bell. There was a note. "Found this on the seat of my sleigh. Fix that hole in your pocket. Signed, Mr. C." I shook the bell. It made the most beautiful sound my sister and I had ever heard. But my mom said, "Oh, that's too bad." "Yes," said my father, "it's broken." When I'd shaken the bell, my parents had not heard the sound. At one time, most of my parents could hear the bell. I can't read anymore. At one time, most of my friends could hear the bell, but as the years passed, it fell silent for all of them. Even Sarah found one Christmas that she could no longer hear its sweet sound. Though I've grown old, the bell still rings for me, as it does for all those who truly believe. It took me a couple of tries to film and read this to you because I keep on crying at the end. Yeah, it's yeah, like I said, it's a favorite, and it always touches me, and really inspires me. Really inspires me. So sorry. Whether you're celebrating your first Christmas this year, or as it says in the Christmas song, your 92nd, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a great holiday season. And these are tears of happiness. I just love this book so much, and it really pulls at my heartstring. And like I said, I can't wait for. There's a couple of new babies in my family, and I can't wait for them to open their books this year that I have wrapped for them. But anyways, wishing you all such a Merry Christmas, and I have more readings coming up. Hopefully not so many tears, so I can keep it together. But anyways, it's such a pleasure. Sending you my love, and I will see you soon. See you.